Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to Makeup and Horror Movie Monday. Yay! So it is finally October, which means the whole of this month is Halloween. You know, if people can say 2 months before it's Christmas, this whole month is going to be Halloween. So essentially this whole month I'm going to be talking about a horror movie every Monday. So if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, the Makeup and Movie Monday, so I just basically I do what it says on the tin. I put on my makeup and I talk about film. But you know, the next couple of ones are going to be horror themed. Not to say that I haven't done any horror in the past, but because it's Halloween and it's my favorite time of the year, it's just going to be obvious that I want to do horror films. So I thought I would start off with a bang and talk about my favorite horror film. In case you probably couldn't tell, um, it's Halloween. It's the original, the best of the best. I just wanted to talk about this one because it's just so obvious to me to have done this one. The next few that I'm going to do, of course, some of my favourites as well. I have done my top 10 favourite horror movies. I did that way early on in my channel, so if you want to have a look at it, please do, because it will give you an insight as to the kind of films that I like. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. Like I said, the makeup is always going to be kind of secondary to what I'm talking about, unless I completely trip up on my words. If I do, apologize. I again don't really have I don't have any editing. I'm filming this all on my phone. And yeah, I'm doing my best. So this is more kind of coming from the heart as opposed to me just giving you hard facts, basically. So Halloween, directed by John Carpenter, came out in 1978. I was about to say, was that right? But it is definitely 19, not 2000. And yeah, directed by John Carpenter, of course, who I have mentioned numerous times on my channel, and that includes me talking about Big Trouble Little China, talking about just his movies in general because they're just fantastic. And essentially, this was probably the movie that got him really well known because previously he'd done a lot of like small films, but before he made Halloween, he did Assault on Precinct 13. That's it. My brain just went silent for like a minute because I was trying to figure out the number. But yeah, so that I believe was made in 75 and this was made in 78. So there's quite a few years going between that. But when it comes to Carpenter, he pretty much does everything. Like, he wrote the film, he wrote the music, he directed it, and it's just amazing. It is, I don't even know, it still gives me anxiety every time I watch it, even though I know what's coming. And it stars Jamie Lee Curtis, so this is pretty much one of her first movies that she ever did. She kind of got, I guess, well known as well, like in The Fog, which came after this one. But I think when it came to this movie, because she played kind of the innocent virgin who survives, and all her kind of slutty, not slutty friends, but like friends who are a bit more outgoing than her, because, well, yeah, they all have boyfriends and sleeping around and, you know, getting into trouble, where she is the kind of like, oh guys, we have to, you know, do this and do this. But obviously, yeah, like, spoilers, she survives where everyone of her friends die basically. But it kind of goes to show that the underdog goes and wins. Not to say that it's, you know, this is a one-off film and that's it, because that's just not the case, obviously. So the whole point of this film, the whole point of it, just like the kind of the rough story to it, essentially. So it starts off the movie with two parents, no, parents going out for the night, and you kind of have this teenage girl who kind of like has a boyfriend around. They have a bit of fun. And what I really like about the scene is that it's all done from like a first person kind of aspect. So you don't really see who the person is, but you can kind of tell that they're quite small in size. And you see this person kind of looking around the house and going into the kitchen, and grabbing a knife. So you kind of, the teenage girl and her boyfriend kind of like do their thing, and then he leaves, and then you have a kind of, is it first person or third person? Maybe third person, where the camera is movement of the person. I'm so bad at this. They essentially grab a knife from the table, but they also grab like a Halloween mask. So they're kind of going into the room where the young girl is. She's getting ready because she just had sex. And the person kind of walks in, and then she gets a fright. And then you hear her say the name Michael, and then he starts to stab her a lot, a lot. Um, and then the next scene is kind of the parents are coming home, and you see this kid sitting outside, um, just standing in the middle of the street with the mask still on, holding a knife. The parents kind of take the mask off him, and you just see this kind of young kid who has just murdered someone, essentially being like his sister. And that's when it kind of transitions into, I believe it's a long time later. I can't actually remember how long later it is. I don't know if they do establish it, or I'm just really bad at remembering because it's been a few months since I've seen this film and I have the memory of a sieve. But basically, the next scene is you meet Dr. Loomis, who is played by Donald Pleasance, who I again have mentioned a few times in this kind of video thing. He's quite prominent in John Carpenter movies. So he's in Escape from New York, and he's in Prince of Darkness as well, which is fantastic. And obviously he plays the Doctor in this, which he does, I think, twice. Yeah, I think it's 2 or 3 times, because like I said, there are quite a few sequels after this one, sadly. But yeah, you get to meet Dr. Loomis, and he's driving to an asylum with a nurse, and essentially talking about Michael, who is now a teenager, locked in confinement, kind of going to another prison, going to like a different secure like kind of more secure location. And then they see that a lot of the inmates are kind of wandering around outside, and it's raining and it's very cold, and obviously they don't know really what's happened, because obviously they should be locked up and safe, but they're not. So essentially, Dr. Loomis kind of goes out to have a look and kind of goes to the gate, and the nurse is just sitting there and waiting, and all of a sudden someone starts climbing onto the car and just kind of scares the nurse, and essentially she jumps out, and the person who was on top of the car just basically jacks it and runs away. And then to Loomis, it kind of, I guess it figures out that it is him. I can't remember if he establishes straight away that it's him. Obviously, there's no way for him to kind of do that unless that's like a contingency kind of thing. Continuity, that's it, not contingency. So essentially what happens is we then go to Haddonfield, which is where it all kind of happens anyway, and you meet Laurie, who is played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and then you meet her with her 2 friends as well, and they're, going to school, so you can tell that they're around maybe 17, 18 years old. They must establish the age, but I don't remember. So therefore, obviously, they go to school, live their day, and Laurie kind of is the kind of girl where she's like, oh, I really like this guy, and all her friends are like, yeah, you should totally go and sleep with this guy, blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, oh, I just want to like have my Halloween, have a great time. And moments what I really like in the kind of school scene um, is where Laurie's just sitting at her desk and she just looks outside and she sees um, Michael Myers just standing there, and it is really freaky because you just see this guy in a boiler suit with a white mask on, looking like William Shatner. um, but just the whole tension in that whole kind of school aspect is amazing. And to kind of not go too much into detail because I'm literally taking you step by step, but it's like Michael is tracking her down. And one thing that they kind of talk about, the thing is, a lot of people say, oh, it's because Laurie is his sister. But the thing is, they never established that. And even in the new version now, they kind of throw it out of the door when they're kind of like, yeah, he was hunting Laurie down because people assume that they're siblings, but they're not. So it kind of established that he just was obsessed with her and wanting to just kill her in general because he'd managed to kill everyone but her. Um, I don't know if that kind of if that's changed. If anyone wants to let me know, please do, because I'm pretty sure they killed that idea that they were related, which would have been really interesting because in the remake, the Rob Zombie one, which is pretty pants, even though I love Rob Zombie, they kind of did establish that they were related because Sherry Moon Zombie as the mum was like her mum and all that high kind of backstory, which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, Michael kind of, the whole basically aspect is that Michael tries to hunt her down, kills her friends, and doesn't kill her. But he puts her in obviously really bad shape because she ends up in the hospital, and obviously in the second one takes place in the hospital. I do like number two. It's not my favorite. It's not the best, obviously, compared to the first one. It has Jamie Lee Curtis in a really weird wig because I know that she was filming something else and they needed to obviously her to have the same kind of hair, or was it in reshoots? I can't remember, but she had to put a wig on and it just looks really weird for her to have this like weird blonde hair. But yeah, what I really just love is the tension, and obviously the music goes so well. So I have mentioned that John Carpenter did write the music for pretty much all his films, which is amazing because this man is just so freaking cool. Like, is there something that he can't do really? Even though some of his later films are questionable, but that's fine. But just the whole scene, one of my favorite scenes ever, and it's the one that still kind of gives me anxiety every time I watch it, is when he's chased her in the house and she hides in the cupboard with all the clothes and the hangers and everything, and he just knows that she's there, and she's just there trying to be as quiet as possible, trying to just not make a sound, and he just knows. And when he starts breaking in, and the scene of him where he can see her, he's inside the cupboard and he's like looking down, and her face with the knife is just amazing. When she thinks that she's kind of got him, when she does like stab him to get out, and when he just like sits up, it's like one of the most iconic kind of movements that Michael does, where he's just like, I can't do it, obviously. It's like the Undertaker kind of rising up, which I think is amazing, and just the tension that he builds in that is just so freaking amazing. So I'm just trying not to poke my eye out with using this brush, and multitasking for me is terrible. But yeah, that is pretty much the movie itself. Um, it's just it's just about tension. That movie just builds up so much tension on just someone who is stalking you, is constantly just like knows where you are, even though you're running away and you're just going as far as you can, but he's there. He knows where you are. And what I like about Michael as a kind of killer is no matter what you do to him, he just comes back, and it is like he is not human. And as they kind of show you in the other movies as well, no matter what you do to kind of kill him, he will just come back. He can get shot about 20 times and he will come back. Even like in this one where he does get shot by Loomis out, he shoots him like out of a window and he falls to the ground. He still walks away, just chilling, just like walking off. But like I mentioned, there were, it's with this lid. Okay, there were a couple of kind of sequels, some that don't really work. There was the one which was number 3, which is like Season of the Witch, which is not really a Michael Myers movie. It's actually pretty fun. Oh my god, just messed up my eyes. It's essentially, well, my voice is getting super emotional about it. It's just like I'm going through puberty. No, so number 3 is essentially just, it could just be another movie and it'd be pretty awesome. But yeah, number 2 essentially goes after number 1, and then you have the remaining kind of few. You have, is it what, H2O, which was pretty bad, and then you have the one after that, which I believe is Resurrection, where Laurie dies straight away, like in the beginning. I think Jamie Lee Curtis was basically, if you want me in this film, kill me off straight away because I don't want to be in this movie or this kind of franchise anymore. Which is fair enough, because what they had done to everything else was just pretty frustrating, pretty bad. But number 2 is good. As I mentioned, the Rob Zombie remake, not so good. Number 2, I absolutely hated it. I have, oh god, did I see? I think I saw number 2 in the cinema, and I just remember just not enjoying it as much because there was just so much going on and it was pretty much a mess. I'm just going to put on my lips quickly, so therefore I won't be talking for a second. Okay, so I've just put on my lips and I put on some setting spray just because you guys don't need me to like set spray on camera. But yeah, that is Halloween essentially. Like I mentioned, if you haven't seen Halloween before, I know I've spoiled it, I'm sorry, but it's been out for quite a while, so hopefully if you do like horror films, that would be the first one that I always recommend people to go to. Obviously, you're not gonna jump into like number 2 or 3 and not know what the hell is happening, but in the sense of watching other horror films, like watching, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street and, you know, Exorcist and stuff like that. But then there's different types of horror, so I think when it comes to this horror, it's more, I believe it's more kind of psychological. It's very there's so much tension. There's not like any gore, that's the problem. There's obviously murder and stabbings, but there's no crazy like blood splat. It's not like Saw. This is like the original kind of tension, you know, there for scares and like kind of jumps, which is what this movie's about. Because every time there's a jump scare, there's like this really loud noise and it gets your heart pumping. And that's what I love about this movie, is that it flows really well in between. Like, I think in certain parts there's moments where it's like, okay, you're talking so much, getting on with it, but it's building up. Like the tension is kind of building up towards Michael coming to get Laurie and getting to all her friends. But yeah, that is Halloween in some kind of nutshell. I hope I've, you know, talked about it okay. Please let me know if you like Halloween. If you don't like Halloween, get out of here. Obviously I'm talking about this one because this is just the best of the best. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you are enjoying my kind of videos on this. This whole of October, like I mentioned, I'm going to be doing horror themed and kind of alternative makeup, just something a bit fun because it is the most wonderful time of the year. And saying that, don't forget to like and subscribe because I film and upload every time I get a chance to. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you're well. I hope you're staying scared and scary, if that makes any sense. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.